Welcome to the Chronicles. I'm Devin Jordan. I'm with Trace Armstrong and Rob McIntyre. We are here to discuss Double Agents as my dog assaults someone coming in the door. We are here to talk about Double Agents episode 18, which was a pretty good episode. He really got him. What housekeeping do we have? I don't think we really have anything. Thank you for everyone that signed up to be with us on Patreon. This is brought to you by all of our Patreon subscribers. If I was more on the ball, we would have shout outs to do for people in this episode. We'll do that next time. Thank you for everyone that's doing it. If you become a patron, you can, the main reason why you would want to do it right now, well, you get a lot of bonus content, but the main bonus content right now is our All-Stars recaps, and we're going to record All-Stars episode 3 right after this. Yeah, and all the people that are currently signed up to be a patron, again, we really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, definitely check out our Discord server. That's been a lot of fun. I think that's definitely something from this that's kind of been a little bit unexpected for me, is like how cool it is to see everyone engage in there. All right, let's just move right on to episode 18. Pretty good final, right?
Yes.
I've been super happy with it so far. They actually used time differentials when the cast left from the first checkpoint, which I almost had a heart attack. I was so happy about it.
They did average time differential. They didn't use the actual differential that they had when they came in, though.
Yeah, no, that's what I was wondering too, because if Amber B had switched, I was curious how they were going to do that with times. I guess what they would have done is just taken the average of the two partners and then had them leave at that point. But yeah, I was beyond excited about that. And then
they would have just kept it exactly the same. They would have still just looked at the average differential of all the partners.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Is that
who would go first and who would go second?
Amber B.
Oh, that's true, because Amber B won. Had the overall better time.
What was crazy, though, is that out of that first mission, literally, no advantage really came from it. The only person that really had somewhat of an advantage was Amber B, in the sense that she could switch partners, but there was no tangible difference in the effect of, or in the overall outcome of the final.
Yeah, I've never been huge on the winning something and penalizing another team. They do that a little bit later on in the episode. So, I was kind of just fine with how they did that.
True.
Yeah, that's the exact same thing that happened with the second mission too. They won and they were able to give more food to another team. Sorry, go ahead, Trace.
Yeah, I think we're kind of burying a couple leads here on this episode. Besides it just being a really good final, who would have thought that Amber B would perform so well in this final? Rob was the one person that was like, I don't think she's going to be that bad. And I'm a believer, man, because she and CT are dominating this final so far.
I think it's over. I don't even
wow. It's over?
It's over. Leroy and Nani, suck. Cam and Corey obviously aren't going to be able to pull this out, and Fessy and Casey are probably going to be removed at the start of the next episode. Yeah. So, this is done.
Yeah, that was rough, with Casey. Man. You always...
That's Fessy's own fault, though, man. This right here, to all the people I had 5 people DM me on Twitter and say I was crazy that Fessy and Casey had 0 chance of winning this final. And my reply is Fessy is going to run this final the wrong way because he's so overconfident. And he did. He did everything wrong.
I don't know, dude. I think that's just bad luck for a lot of it. Just falling her leg like that. That could have happened to anybody at any time.
It could have, but the problem was that he was pushing the pace too far for her, and she felt like she had to keep up with him, and she was gassing by the time they got to that leg. And when you're gassed out and your muscles aren't getting the oxygen, and by the way, there was a friggin' hurricane blowing through. The wind on that final was insane while they were trying to run.
We get lucky this wasn't a Gauntlet 2 situation.
Good gosh. They were having real trouble because of the wind speed. And I think she lost her footing because of the fatigue factor that set in.
I don't know, dude. I really think that's just bad luck. And I mean, look, winners at it or not, the producers like took out a Fessy-shaped pinata with how they were airing the rest of the cast members' confessionals this episode. Like he was getting no breaks at all.
So do you blame him for not eating at that final stage?
I mean, yeah, I think you still have to. I think you still have to put the effort into it, because you just never know what's going to happen. You also, because you don't know how the rest of the final is going to be structured. You don't know what they're going to have you do. These producers pull weird stuff out of nowhere that maybe you luck into something. And like,
there was a possibility because they already shown. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I'm just saying, like you're already there. You're there to compete. You don't know what's going to be ahead of you. I think you still have to put a full effort in. Or at least that's what I would do. I mean, that's what it's up to him, but that's what I would definitely try to do.
I agree, but at the same time, I don't blame him either. Like they're way behind everyone else. She can barely walk. Like I'm surprised they even let her continue. To be honest, do we have any confirmation on her exact injury yet? Has that been stated publicly?
I don't know anything specific.
We probably won't find out.
They don't usually tell us specifically what happens. Like a lot of it's just kind of offhand reporting. We just know it's her leg.
I know, that's what I mean. Like I feel like after the fact, sometimes we get messages from people on the show.
Yeah.
About what the exact injury was.
Yeah. I'm sure maybe that'll come out eventually. Yeah. So we'll get something more specific.
When was the last time we had someone injured in a final like that?
I mean, we get injuries somewhat frequently. I mean, War of the Worlds one, we had Georgia who like passed out and she got taken away. I guess these past two seasons, these finals have been so bad we haven't really had the injuries. Bailey did get hurt last season's final. She didn't.
That counts. That counts.
DQ'd. Yeah. Mm-hmm. War of the Worlds 2, I don't think anybody really gets injured.
I mean, I guess we had 2 people removed last season, right? Because Melissa also dropped out.
Yeah, but that wasn't an injury. That was a very different situation. But yeah,
that
Bailey,
was a very different situation.
Yeah, Bailey was hurt, and then she ended up not completing it. But it's hard to say why.
Yeah, but before we move on, there's a couple of reasons why Fessy should finish it. Number one, let's say on the off chance he and Casey are able to finish the eating and he's able to finish it first, based on what they had done in the previous leg of allowing the overall winner to pick a new partner, Fessy could have won that and picked a new partner and then eliminated another guy. Like that is it was a long shot. It was a long shot, but it was a possibility.
I don't know. I don't really blame him, but at the same time, yeah, I think you
I mean, at that point, he's beholden to himself and Casey at that point. Like, his effort's going to be dependent on how he and Casey finish the final. And honestly, more likely just him. Like Trey said, I was going to bring that up too, where we have the precedent set already that you can switch partners around. So maybe something like that would happen, or maybe they would have like an elimination and then people would switch, and who knows. But
Rob, were you
could have
holding your
individual. Who knows?
Were you holding your breath that Amber B didn't switch partners in that brief moment?
No, because like if she had like picked Corey, for example, and then it was Cam and CT, I would have just thought Cam and CT were a lock.
Well, that would have lost you the bet for.
How would that have lost
for partners?
For partners switching, I had that as a bet.
That the bet is that the partners that they came into the final with would not be the partners that they ended the final with.
What? No, the bet was definitely that they would stay paired throughout the final.
No, that was not the bet at all. In no way, shape, or form. Because it was either that they were going to split up individually or that they were going to move partners around. That was the bet.
But like when we were talking move partners around, we were thinking about, at least what I was interpreting as in a free agent sense, where everybody's still an individual. You just switch partners around so that you have a little bit of time with everybody. Which is different than switching partners and still completing the finish line.
Yeah, so that is the way, now that I'm looking at it, the way that it's raised. It was the pairs that enter the final for season 36 of the challenge will not place as pairs in the final. For some reason, I thought it was something else.
That was always how I at least intended the bet to be. This is the issue with having Devin write down all of our bets, is that I'm going to get screwed on someone else.
I mean, it's working now. So
it's so far worked. So
I think the issue is that this was like over 4 months ago at this point. This was like 5 months ago. This show's going on forever.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, 19 episodes is kind of what we did. 19 episodes with most of them being 90 minutes.
if they do 2 reunions for this, then we're at 21 episodes. So what's 21 divided by 4? That's close to
5.
That's like
5.25.
That's a long time, dude.
Yeah, that's like 5.5 months. That's insane.
That's a lot.
5.5 months of mostly hour-and-a-half long episodes.
And that's what I was saying
Yeah,
on the Discord
it's-
server yesterday, is it's like, it's not that I haven't enjoyed Double Agents. I'm just ready for it to end at this point. Not because it's been a bad season, not because I'm just loathing it. It's just like, I feel like we've gotten the story. I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready for us to have some other content to talk about because it's been a long haul here. And it's been a very good season. I wouldn't say it's been excellent. It's been very good. But I'm ready for it to be done.
These past 2 episodes, I was very happy with how they've done this final so far. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
but like
this so far might be the. Go ahead.
Well, when I want a final, like the only thing I really ask for is that we test everybody on a variety of strengths, and then we have them all comprehensively work towards the winner. It's not just we end up randomly having one where you get a 2-minute head start, and then that wins it. I want it to be comprehensive and test a variety of skills.
I mean, I think that may still end up being what's happening, where they force parity there at the end. And really, even the skills that they tested aren't really coming into play, right? So the skill that would have been able to be gleaned from the first mission pretty much gave no advantage into the overall outcome. The one for the second one, that's still TBD. We don't know it seems like that's not really going to do anything either, right? You can give a penalty to someone. So it's not like that's going to give you like a major advantage. The smart move there is definitely give it to Cam.
I mean, there's still times in how fast you eat it, right? Like, isn't that still a factor?
I would assume so. It adds to their time.
I mean, yeah, but I would say that's a pretty small gain, right? Don't you think?
Maybe not. It's hard to say how long the difference is and how long it takes them to eat. It certainly could be. Looks like Fessie's not doing anything, which is going to be a pretty big damage.
Yeah, but they're already out of it. Like, they're
done.
But like Devin, you just said that maybe they're just going to do a 2-minute head start stupid thing again. If they do that, it's anybody's game.
Yeah, but like they're going to DQ her after. She can't even walk. That's the thing.
Yeah,
she's like barely moving around. Like if she was like able to like jog and like have both feet off the ground at the same time, like I'd be like, all right, this is completely different. But she's like hobbling in with one arm around him coming in. You can't even finish a final doing that.
Yeah, and she's not just in like a knee wrap. Like she was in a full-on leg brace.
It is crazy they seemingly didn't even check her that much, right? Like they just kind of had the 2 medics look at her a little bit and then tape it up.
Well, it could have taken longer. We just didn't see it on camera. I give them the benefit of the doubt on that.
I think they're going to DQ him after this segment's over. Like I think they're going to just be like, you guys are done. And like TJ will probably come out and like.
Well, they said one team's going to get eliminated anyways. Do we think that counts? Then they're just going to be the team eliminated.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they want to run an entire second episode with just 2 teams.
Yeah, that's a good call. They haven't done that since Exodus 2, so they'll probably keep these last 3 pairs remaining. I still think it's more like, look, I thought Amber B and CT were going to win going into it, so this certainly hasn't changed my opinion away from that. I still think Cam and Corey are alive, though. Leroy and Nani, I just have a hard time seeing, but.
Yeah, you got to feel kind of bad for Leroy that this is how he's going to go out.
Seriously.
Yeah, I think the reason that CT and Amber are easily not just blowing the field away here, but they're really complementary of each other in that CT is actually a little slower of a runner than his partner is, and she's doing really well on the running, but she even proved her mettle on the puzzle. Like I never in a million years would have thought Amber B would have been the fastest person to do that first puzzle. Like I thought Cam had that one locked down and it wasn't even going to be close.
I mean, if you do that puzzle 10 times, how many times do you think Amber B's winning that? You know what I mean?
2, but like, I mean, she's supposed to like what you're going to win like 2.5 times out of it, on average.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 to 3.
I think that was a little bit more of a crapshoot. Like it's pretty much just a memory game.
I don't know. I think Cam probably wins that more than the rest of the people there.
No, I think she's the favorite in that. I think she wins the most, but I still think that's not that significant a difference as when anybody could win.
Yeah. The other thing I thought about too,
because I think it's still
just a memory game, dude. Like I mean, anybody can.
And I think some people don't have good memories. Like I think Casey had very little chance to win that. Like she's shown like no track record of being able to be good at something like that.
I don't know. I think you can just kind of stumble into it for a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Go,
I mean, a lot of it is just the luck factor. But one of the things I looked at last night after the episode was over, I went back and rewound it to that point. I think Casey's injury actually started during that piece of the final because she went down really hard and kind of, it looked like planted her leg. And so I think she hurt it there, but then just kept aggravating it by running. And then when she did the misstep, that was all she wrote. Like it looked like she took a pretty good hit during that piece of the final.
Amber B took a really good hit in that first mission
when I think Casey,
when Casey was trying to take the code away from her, and then Cam came up and just like rocked her into the side of the hill.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, think they're done switching at this point, right? Like they can't have like.
I don't think anybody's going to switch at this point, though.
I don't know. I think Cam might.
Well, but like, so like, how are we saying Amber B and CT are a lock at this point? Then if we think they're still switching partners,
I don't think they are. I'm saying they could. Okay.
They could, but I don't think they will. Yeah, that's my point. Because Amber smartly looked at CT and was like, "We're blowing this final out. We're going to stick together."
So I'll say this: like, I think it's possible that they're changing the way that they're editing the show, right? Like, I think that it's possible that they're like, because like, think about it. Think about how different this show is, even compared to like 2 seasons ago, right? Compared to like War of the Worlds or War of the Worlds 1. I think this is like significantly different, especially now that the season's much longer. They have much more invested in this. I think it's definitely becoming a different product. Go ahead.
What are you getting at?
That it's possible. So like, I think my whole argument with Edgic this whole time has been that I don't think that there had been nothing consistent in the past to suggest that they were doing this, right? So like we could go down a list of seasons and like every season we'd be like, no, they weren't really doing it here, but this is the reason why. No, they weren't doing it here because this happened. And then there would be a random season like this where you could make the argument, right? So like in hindsight, I feel like you could definitely make the argument here, but in a number of different situations, they weren't. So I think I guess what I'm trying to say overall is that I'm curious to see if they consistently keep this up and if this is now something that they want to have be part of the show.
Well, so why would you think that Survivor would utilize a winner's edit type program and that no other reality show would?
I didn't say that.
I
didn't say any. Well, I didn't say any other reality show. I said the challenge because to this point in time.
Well, I'm just asking, generally speaking, why would Survivor do it and not other people?
I definitely.
That's an easy one for me.
What I was saying is that for the challenge specifically, like they hadn't shown consistently that they would do this, right? There had been like some instances in the past where they did this, like Cara Maria and like Bloodlines, they definitely did this. But like if you like go like Dirty 30, like there was not a hint of this, right?
That's a rough ass to have Jordan and Camilla like.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and a lot of that stuff, they could decide just not to show it. There's stuff like that that's happened on the show in the past that they didn't show. And so that was like
they weren't going to show the Camilla. They weren't going to show the Camilla incident with Leroy until the cast made them at the reunion.
Yeah, see, you know what I mean? So like that's something that they could have done. And then for like Jordan, they didn't necessarily have to show that either. And I feel like there were even moments beyond. There were moments even beyond.
That's why he's voted into the next elimination.
There were moments even beyond like those 2 specific things that happened in the season for each of those characters that won that didn't make them look favorably. You know what I mean?
Like what?
Well, for Jordan, I feel like he like constantly looked like a jackass, like just having like confrontations with people throughout that season, didn't he?
Not necessarily. They kind of round him into a little bit more positive. He's definitely sort of the narrator of the show by the end of it. Camilla's not getting confessionals the second half of the season. Like she's just completely written off almost at the D level. But yeah, he kind of becomes sort of the narrator as it gets on. He and Cara have like a tiff throughout the season, but that's just kind of something. My thing is like, why would we think that Survivor would do this and the challenge or other reality shows wouldn't?
Yeah, because I don't know about I don't know about other reality shows, but I will say this for Survivor. With Survivor, 90% of the time on these seasons, it's a brand new cast. So whoever the winner is, they want to make them a focal point and make sure that the audience is familiar with how they're thinking, what their strategy is, so that by the end of the season, whether you like or hate the person, it's at least a satisfying conclusion narratively. So they have to build the narrative of the whole season around them, because no one wants an invisible winner on Survivor when you don't know any of the people on the season. Whereas with the challenge, most of the time, except for season 37 coming up, 3/4 of the people on the show are repeat people from the show. So you're familiar with the characters. So they can do a little bit of a different edit to satisfy the audience, because you're familiar with the characters and all they're trying to do is craft the best story they can. And then whomever the winners are, they can find a way to wedge a story in about them, even if it's not interesting.
So I would ask this, and I think that's a good point, Trace. When do you think they start doing this for the challenge? Or is your argument that they've done this the whole time?
It's not like, do they start, do they not? Is it conscious? It's not like an on and an off switch. I think it's just when you're a story like producer on a TV show, you want a satisfying conclusion.
Yeah, but they don't do that a lot of times. Like for Battle of the Seasons.
So
hold on.
When were you aware of Edgic on Survivor?
So when Edgic came into the main light, when it first happened, it was Wrong. That's when it really blew up and started to get in everyone's faces. And it got to the point where they don't even really talk about it on RHAP anymore, because there was such a backlash against it. And go ahead.
Well, so that was very far into Survivor's tenure that came around. I think that for a lot of it's because there hasn't been a significant study of it on the Challenge or a lot of other reality shows. They don't have as large a community as Survivor. They also watch the show a very different way. With Survivor, I think you get a lot more of the people who are watching for politics and sort of the editing aspect than with the Challenge, where you get just a wide variety of people who are watching it. I think Survivor has a whole community built around Edgic, whereas the Challenge doesn't. And a lot of other TV shows don't. I think it's just, if you're a story producer on a TV show, you want a satisfying conclusion for your viewers. That's just what you want.
And what I'm saying is that there's just so many instances where that does not happen. Even if we go back to just even the recent past, Battle of the Seasons, right? There's no Edgic going on in Battle of the Seasons.
I mean, that's 9 years ago. It's not that recent.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So that's why I asked, when do you think this is starting for them? You know what I mean?
But so it's 9 years ago. So I don't. That's one thing. But it's also I mean, look, I haven't gone back and rewatched that season at any point recently. So I'd have to. I feel like I'd have to go back and rewatch it.
There is no winners edit. Everyone looks like an asshole by the end of the season.
Well, dude, that season's rough.
Yeah, that season's rough. That's what I'm saying. I feel like I'd have to go back and watch it, but it's not necessarily I just think you want to tell a cogent story around your one. I don't know if that necessarily look. The San Diego team definitely does not look favorably. They're not a favorable.
Now, and see, every team that made the final in that season, you would not have been able to convince me of an Edgic edit for any of them, because for Brooklyn, the storyline was they all knew Devin sucked, and Sarah and Chet
JD's
were trying
pretty
to
bad
get
in
rid
that
of Devin and JD. That was the story of Brooklyn. The story of Vegas was Dustin and Trishelle hated each other and were not going to work well together. And then you had San Diego, who looked like power-hungry, crazy people. And then the way they treated Sam in the final was abhorrent. And it just there was no satisfying conclusion, because everybody, I feel like as a viewer, you hated everyone going into that final.
I just would have to go back and rewatch it to look at it. I think look, I'm not saying that they're going to not tell what happens on the season. They're going to just make things. They do that occasionally, but I'm not saying they're going to completely make the story in that regard.
Yeah, Devin, the one season where I think they kind of started flirting with some Edgic type editing was Rivals 3, because they crafted that story.
No, Bloodlines definitely is a very good example of building the story around Kamara.
Okay, well, Bloodlines is a little... I think you have to take Bloodlines with a mulligan too, because half the cast has never been on TV. So they had to use the people that had been on TV to still tell the story.
I don't think that's that much of a factor, because one, we know in Survivor that seasons with returners still definitely have winners at it. And in fact, that's some of the times when it's been most apparent is when they have returning players. And then also people's opinions on challenge competitors change season by season constantly. Look at how different Tori was perceived after World of Worlds 2 versus how she's perceived now by the fan base.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely
you could convince. Go ahead. Sorry.
I definitely think it's the case for Bloodlines. Finish what you were going to say about Rivals 3, which is literally one season later. So keep going with what you're going to say about
I was
that.
about to say, I would have said maybe you could give me the same argument for X's 2, because the whole narrative that the producers were pushing is that Sarah would do anything she had to do to win. And so like she often got throwaway confessionals that didn't seem like anything. But by the end of the season, when she double crossed Bananas and threw him into elimination, and then she and Jordan won, you know, and talking about Jay and Jenna as layups, which they were, turned out. And then Rivals 3, it was all about the conflict of can Johnny and Sarah mend their relationship? And then Sarah kept saying things like, can I really trust him? And that was the narrative of the whole season. And so it really did play out that way. I think those 2 seasons were cases where the people on the cast were seasoned enough that they knew what type of story they wanted the producers to use. And then it just all happened to wind up in that exact outcome by the end of it.
So this is really off topic, and then we'll come right back to this. But wasn't there a season like shortly after Rivals 3 where they tried to have Johnny and Sarah be partners again in something? Didn't that happen? Or
No,
didn't they attempt
that
to do
never
that?
happened. Final Reckoning, they
sure?
tried to have him and Devin be partners. Yeah, there was never. I know nothing of that.
Because I feel like
Sarah
I
got availability calls, but she declined them. From what I heard.
She's been declining calls ever since then, and I don't think there's been really a whisper of her coming on. Though on Vendettas there was a rumor she might come on as a mercenary, but that's been the closest we've had to her appearing back.
Yeah, and now from what I have heard, she has declared she will never go back on the show because she has gotten her master's in like psychology or therapy or something, and her practice is going to be helping reality star type people transition back to real life, because a lot of them have issues. And so like she feels like it's a conflict of interest for her to go on a reality show when she's trying to be a therapist for people on reality shows.
That's actually really interesting. I'm curious to hear more about that.
Like, would you?
I don't think
like
Rob,
I don't think so, dude. Why do you think she's going to be back?
Forever is such a long time. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, but it's been a while since she's been back now.
I mean, not that. Like Tech just came back after being gone for like how many years?
Oh, yeah, but that's an All-Stars.
All-Star. Well, I could maybe see her on All-Stars. That could be possible.
I think that counts. Like at this point, like All-Stars is pretty much indistinguishable from the show that we watch now.
I suppose. I mean, it has been a while since she's been back, and if you like, I don't think
it's been 5 years.
Oh yeah, 5 years is not like nothing.
I don't know.
I mean, I realize Devin thinks, but for Devin, Beth is 52, and she's still like the queen of elimination. So apparently, age is just not a factor for him.
But compared to all the other people, aged just as much as she did.
Well, I'm just saying. Like, I think 5 years is a while. It's definitely something where it's not like she's been gone for 2 and then came back. Like, she's already kind of sat out a lot of these.
All right, so to transition this back into what's going on with this episode, yeah, like I think this final's over. Like, I mean, I definitely think that they are consciously making an edit for CT and Amber B in this season, for sure. Like, I mean, I think this is done. Like, they're trying to like lionize both of them in this final to the point that if someone else beside the two of them won, I think it'd be pretty shocking.
Yeah,
I still have a little bit that I think Cam and Corey could pull it out. But yeah, I definitely think they're by far the favorite. Like, I think they're easily the odds-on favorite to win it.
Would they be like minus 500 right now?
Maybe not that high. I'd have them like minus 350, but definitely a confident favorite.
It'd be a competent favorite. You know what's interesting too is as we've been talking about this, it's one of those things too where it's often hard to maybe see the edge when you're watching it live, because you misinterpret the storyline a little bit. Like at the beginning of the season, when CT didn't pick Cam as her partner, the focus was all about Cam being upset about it and blah, 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 blah. And Cam was like, you made a mistake and such, not whatever. Really, the story was CT made a different decision, and CT found ways to survive. He found ways to survive and work with Big T. They found ways to feature CT. Even when he messed up with Big T, they then did the stuff with like the montage of him training Big T. They did everything they could to prop him up to look better for this by the time he got to the final.
I don't know. Like, I feel like that's one thing that they didn't do very clean. That's like something that they would never do on Survivor, is like the whole thing that happened with him and Big T and how he chose Cam and how they portrayed that. Like, I think
but how are they not going to air that?
There's no way not to show that, though.
They can edit that differently, though. They don't have to show
I think that's a rough ask. How do you edit that differently?
What do you mean? They don't have to show, like, they can just show him deciding that he wants to take Big T. They don't have to show, like, everyone saying that they think CT's a jackass.
But, like, in that moment when he does it screaming and, like, jumping up and down. Like, I don't think that, I think that's a rough thing to tell.
They can show that. They don't have to, like, show, like, the responses of everyone that, like, make CT look unfavorable, though.
I suppose. I think that's a... That's
they don't have to, and maybe they would not have had there not been the redemption of them getting back together and ending their partnership on a good note.
That's a good point.
Yeah, like I just think that you're kind of in a point where you just have to air that pretty much just as it goes.
And when you've got 90-minute episodes, you got to fill that time.
Yeah, I think we've really seen... We've really seen, particularly this past few seasons, they really try to edit the show around rivalries or tell the story of the show around rivalries. So I think this season really has been the CT versus Cam season.
The fact that they've had predominantly 90-minute episodes, does that make the show, I guess, lesser of a product than if they just had 60-minute episodes?
I don't think so. I think they've done a decent job this season. At least they'll shorten episodes down to an hour if they have to. I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, I was not sure how I felt about it, but what I feel like they have done with the episode times this year is exactly what Rob said. You know, some 90-minute episodes weren't great, but they weren't horrible. But then episodes that were 60 minutes we weren't high on would have been complete duds if they were 90 minutes because there's just nothing going on. So I feel like they made wise choices on what should be a 90-minute episode versus a 60-minute episode. I feel like they have done the best they could. And the fact that they've split the final into 2 episodes, which, by the way, I'm glad we didn't bet on the actual number of episodes because I would have lost because I would have said, we're done by 17.
I would have been making so much more money if I just put the bets on the right stuff this season. I've been saying the whole time, I think this is going to go through.
Doesn't every gambler say that, though?
That's how gambling works, Rob.
I suppose. This has been a rough go, though. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those interesting things that, you know, they split this final into 2 parts, but it's 2 1-hour episodes. It's like, that's actually perfect. If it had been 2 90-minute episodes, I would assume.
I don't know.
We won't know till Monday.
I think they could do 90 minutes next week. It still seems like we've got a lot left to go in this final. I mean, the only thing they've really done so far right now is run that little mission in the beginning and then eat.
Yeah, for it could be 90 minutes. For 60 minutes last night, we really didn't do that much, right? We ran 3 miles.
We had a lot in the beginning of them, like, kind of moseying around.
Oh, I guess we did have that bubble night at the start, which, I don't know. I don't need to see those, personally.
I definitely don't. I think at this point, get to the final. There's not going to be anything coming out of here that I really need. I get, like, you want to set up the partnerships, particularly when you have so many that are new. You want to give them some sort of background. But I think you can do that in a more fluid way to not spend so much time on it.
Well, I actually think the bubble actually served a big purpose that episode last night. And the biggest purpose they were doing was showing the Fessy conversation about, like, you are who I wanted to run the final with, referring to Casey. And then we saw what happened. Not that it was a fluke. Maybe Fessy pushed her too hard. Maybe it was just bad luck. But they were really, I feel like Fessy, in hindsight now, got the biggest dick award for the season in terms of the edit because they made him in hindsight
we've
look
been
really
saying that the whole time, though.
At several occasions, and now he looks really bad not finishing.
So when was the last time they made someone look that bad?
Jay.
I mean, what, Jay, you said?
Yeah, from Exodus.
Like, what are you talking about, one episode or over a season?
The whole season.
I think they really take the hatchet out on Cara and Paulie on World of Worlds too.
I would agree. He has to be like I like at this point. I feel like the way that he's concluding this season is making him a better character for me. Right? I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's positioning himself to be just kind of the fulcrum of a lot of storylines for seasons to come. Like I'm much more excited to see him on next season now.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm curious if he wins next season. or something like that, like how that's going to affect him moving forward. I mean, they really it's been since the beginning. Like that's what we're talking about. Like how when he puts himself into elimination, which normally the show would be like, oh my gosh, what a boss move, and they're just like kind of like yeah, we'll just move on from this. We don't really need to air this that much.
For last episode, yeah, that's what we were talking about whether or not like what part of that was more compelling. Right, because they didn't really have time to show both, because wasn't that a 60-minute episode?
No, that was 90. But my thing is, they didn't even like portray it positively though. They had people dunking on him for how bad his note was.
Yeah, which was absurd.
That
like
was
when they showed that in the previously on, I was like, oh my god, I forgot all about that. That was just insane.
Yeah, the whole previously on too was just about how overconfident Fessy is. I mean, I'm telling you, it's just been like.
It's been
I feel bad for him because I feel like everybody
gave him that edit though because he gave them that to work with. That's the thing.
The thing is though that he performed well in this, right? So for a lot of this, he was the first person. He like at the beginning final, he was in the lead.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel bad for him. Look, I've taken plenty of shots at him too. I tweeted out a picture today of a picture of Fessy and then like cleaning the glasses, and then it was a picture of Jay from Battle of the X's too. But yeah, I mean he's just been in a rough spot. This has probably been a rough season for him. So I hope he's going to be back next season, and hopefully for his sake, it's a little bit more positive for him, because I don't know if he has many fans emerging from this season.
Very few. He's a Johnny Bananas hate without the win.
Yeah, but even like Bananas at least has his partisans. Like how many Fessyites are there?
There are some crazy Big Brother fans out there. And I'm not kidding, man. But here's the one thing. People that are fans of Big Brother hate him too.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's not like there's a fans of Big Brother really rallying around Fessy.
It's just like, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's... Some people have said that what you see is actually Fessy, and other people have said, oh, Fessy's not that bad. But he's pretty much universally disliked by both fan bases, which makes it good in my opinion, like Devin said. You know, Fessy is now a very interesting dynamic character moving forward, because, I mean, you can't get much worse of a bad edit in terms of looking like a jerk than he did this year. I mean, even CT taking shots at him in the confessionals of the final, like CT's direct quote was, "Man, why are you moving so fast? This is a marathon, not a sprint, dude."
I really want to see him like lean into it next season too. You know what I mean? I want him to like see how it came off this season and just like take it up a notch. You know what I mean? Like play it up a little bit.
See, what I need them to do Battle of the Shows and have a Big Brother team with him and Pauly on it, so they just have like the all villains team.
Yeah.
Man, that Big Brother team with all villains would be.
He can take some lessons from Pauly and just how to like lean into the villain role.
I would be like really behind that Big Brother team. If it was, what's the best Big Brother team of 4 that you could come up with? Pauly,
Fessy,
Natalie.
No, I don't think it's Natalie Negrodi.
No, Natalie's not.
Storylines.
She doesn't fit that profile at all to me. She comes off. I've always found her to come off kind of.
Bailey.
He and Amber B actually remind me a lot of each other, because they both have like a little bit of an overproduced nature to them. I actually think she's not a bad competitor. I mean, look, Bailey, you just need people to fill out spots.
I mean, at this point, you got to take
just going all
Amber
villains.
B.
I think if you're going all villains, maybe you just do Casey as kind of just like playing the Ashley Kelsey role from Battle.
I'm just talking about the most entertaining team that you could come up with.
Probably if it's just most entertaining, I'd probably put the two of them.
I think Bailey's definitely in that category.
Yeah, so the two of them, Bailey and Devon.
Yeah, for sure. That's what it is.
Ooh, man, that's an explosive team.
And I don't even really like Devon, but at least she like goes in there and mixes it up.
Devon might be have the best.
Are great.
Like, dude, in terms of like confessional like hit rate, she probably has like the highest, right? Because she's only been on 2 seasons, but for her, it's just consistent, like never ending. Put her in any spot, she's throwing fire out.
Dude, one of the most entertaining pairs of all time is Devon and Bear. From War of the Worlds 1, dude. That was just like dynamite nonstop, because Devon just completely wanted to try and distance herself from everything Bear did the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely, you can see why, not looking back on it. She probably had the right move.
Yeah, but, probably so.
I wonder if she'll ever be back. It seems like she's moved on to other stuff now. Like she was on Big Brother 22, so she's kind of got other. I think she's got like higher aspirations at this point in the challenge. I mean, she's
Well,
got like
after-
4 of like the most popular gifts around, basically. So she's got a lot going on.
Who Dave?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, she's got the one of her like leaving the Big Brother house with a suitcase, and she's got the one where she's like this talking to Jose.
What do you mean she has higher aspirations? She's still on reality TV. Like, what else is she gonna do?
But I'm saying like Big Brother's a more popular show than the challenge.
I don't know. At this point, is it?
I certainly think they get a lot more viewers. There's a lot more. I think there's a much bigger like public perception around Big Brother.
yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
I'm
I
wrong.
feel like Big Brother appeals to. There's not as. Maybe I'm wrong in stating this, but I feel like Big Brother has a wider casual audience, whereas the challenge has a pretty devoted niche following.
What was the last season of Big Brother?
It was like the
22,
All Stars thing that was
right?
airing, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really
It was like
poorly
Paulie's
received,
brother was
apparently,
on
too.
it.
Yeah,
few
Cody.
people
Paulie's brother
were on it.
Cody ended up winning the season. Devon
Who
was
won?
on it. Bailey was on it.
Paulie's brother Cody won.
Yeah.
Josh was in.
I think it's just. I think it's just that it's on network TV. Like if you're on
network.
network TV, you're having more popular fan. Like you're just more popular in general. Like they're on CBS.
So looking at the ratings, so Big Brother was consistently between like 3 and 4 million people. How many does the challenge get?
That's
Like how
way
many?
over.
About
That's
a
way over
million,
what the
million and a
challenge
half
is
on a
getting.
good week.
Okay.
Yeah, it's way over what the challenge is getting. I think it's just it's on CBS. Like if they, I'm curious if they'll ever actually do that. Maybe they'll air like reruns of old seasons of the challenge on CBS if they just need something to fill.
With the pandemic ending, I don't think that'll happen.
With
If they were going to do it, they would have done it back in the fall.
But I'm saying, like their partnership's really evolved since then, though. Like now they're much. Now I mean, like a third of this next cast is going to be CBS people on 37.
I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe I feel like they would be more wanting to get people to watch the MTV property because it is MTV's flagship show. Like if you take the challenge away from MTV, I still know they will.
Have they ever done that with any show though, where they've showed an MTV show on CBS?
No, I don't think so. I'm just saying that. But now, like, it seems like they're really trying to merge those two properties together with how they're casting the shows and also with Paramount Plus. So that's why I was asking now. I don't think it'll happen. I was just curious.
Anything is
I don't know. I think
possible, but I would probably venture probably not on that. I think I would allow for the possibility, but it's unlikely.
Yeah, because like when are you going to air this? You know what I mean? It's like I don't think they're going to show like a rerun in like that was on MTV in like a primetime spot. Like,
oh, definitely not. This would be like off hours.
Well, there's not really off hours.
I just know Big Brother sucks in a lot. Not sucks in a lot, but like a lot of times, like just after football or basketball or something, like they'll just Big Brother will just be the next show. So
I feel like their best play would be just to promote the challenge while Big Brother is airing and say, see Big Brother stars, blah, 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 blah on the challenge. Like that would be the way to do it.
When someone lists the rating and they give it like a 1.0 or a 0.8, what does that mean?
It's how many in millions.
You think that's what it is? Because on some of these...
not. It is a percentage of the viewing audience is that number. The actual number of viewers is a separate number.
Well, I don't think... They wouldn't give it a 1.0 then, because it's not like 100% of like 18 to 49 watched Big Brother. I think it might be millions in this context, and the person who just put these numbers down just didn't do it for some of the columns. So what's interesting, Rob, is that for the total number of viewers for, let's just pick a random episode. The total number of viewers for the final was 3.91 million. So close to 4 million people for total viewers. Guess how many people 18 to 49 watched it?
Like 1.2 million? Maybe not even that high. Maybe like 900K.
So 1.1. So right. So like a quarter of the viewers were 18 to 49. So that just shows you like how like older that demographic skews.
That old? That's really old.
Isn't that crazy?
That has to be wrong. There's no way.
It could be. Yeah, I don't know. So based off of the information that's on Wikipedia right now, that means like 3/4 of their viewing audience are either kids essentially or over 49. I think it's most likely over
just
49.
It's just geriatrics and pediatrics who are watching this. I don't think that's like the case.
I wonder if that's what Survivor's demographics is too.
I don't know. I think we're kind of petering out here. I think we should probably.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have a lot to talk about here.
With most of the finals, particularly when it's just this first part, like there's not going to be a ton to take away. And I think this episode was definitely good. Like I was very happy with what they've done with it so far. It's just there's not always that much that happens.
Yeah, I think the way that this season is ending definitely puts us ahead of Total Madness for me. I think a couple weeks ago, I think I said it that I don't know, like I could go like either way, or I like Total Madness more. This is definitely it's been a good end of the season, right? Because there were some stretches like a month ago where it's like, what are they doing here? It showed that they were stretching this into 5.5 months of content, which is insane. There ever been?
But like they didn't like move around eliminations that much and stuff. They were all pretty consistent. I don't think it was that they were stretching it out like that.
Well, they could have, dude. They could have. You said it yourself. They could have, if they wanted to make this like a really like tight show, they could have just done this where they were doing 2 eliminations every week, and some weeks they didn't have 2 eliminations. They could have just made it better from that perspective.
But what I'm saying, when you're saying stretching it out, that would imply to me that they're like taking like a mission and then like they're stretching it out when they're filming the season, when they have after they're done, which I don't think they did at all.
I guess I'm more so talking about the conscious way that they structure the format of the show.
Yeah.
Right. So they probably knew that. So think about it from the mindset of the producers coming into this, right? They know that it was pretty much like it was dicey just being able to film this, right? They were taking a big chance because this is when they started to film this, COVID was a much larger issue than it is now. It's still an issue, but it was a much larger issue then. And so I think from their perspective, they thought, if we're going to go out and do this, we need to really make this worth it and get as much content as we can, because we don't know what the future holds. And if COVID numbers are going to go way back up again, and we're not going to be able to film for a while. So if we do this now, at least we're going to have like close to half a year of content that we can show.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think that was the right play on their part.
Dude, Rob, this is.
I just really think the biggest issue with this season has been how the skulls ended up playing out. I really think that slowed down so many of these episodes.
I don't know if these numbers do mean million. So for Survivor, it was 7.94 million viewers. Guess how many? If this is what this means for, if this 18 to 49 column means millions, guess how many it says for millions for 18 to 49? So there were 8 million viewers in total. Guess how many of those were 18 to 49?
I would have said 2 million.
I was going to say something like that, like 2.5.
1.6. So I don't know. Yeah. So someone needs to come like educate me on what exactly this means.
I'll look into it more once we have some time.
Somebody could probably give a better explanation of it. The way I've always understood it is that when they say like a 1.0, that's the percentage of the TV audience that's watching the show, like overall. So like a network TV rating is different from a cable TV rating in that percentage, because there are more homes available with a network show versus a cable show. So it translates into different millions based off the availability of the show, whether it's network or cable. That's why the network and the cable ratings are separated, because there are just way more homes without cable or satellite than there are with.
What's interesting is how many people, a much lower percentage of people on this are watching it through DVR than I would have guessed. But I mean, that could just be
because people don't have DVR anymore.
Well, I mean, it also, because the show does skew demographically older. I mean, as a dude who's almost 40 now with a kid, I'm home way more. And once your kids are not in the toddler phase like mine, you're just sitting in front of the TV at 8:00 at night. So I feel like they make it, for that generation that skews higher in the demographic, they are more prone to have scheduled viewing, whereas the younger generation will time shift stuff.
You don't think people have DVR anymore? So do you think the way that you watch it, where you were, I think what you're talking about, they still count that as DVR though, the way that you watch it, how you have it on your,
I watch it live.
Don't you normally watch it through sometimes on your like family's account, like digital account, where you
No,
can stream
I
it that
pretty
way
much
than you do
always
that
just
one?
watch it live.
Do you think that they count that as DVR though?
When you're watching on like the computer?
Yeah, like recorded.
No.
You don't? I think they do because that's still technically like DVR.
Well, it's a bit but like I don't know. I think maybe we're talking about different things. And if you're just watching on MTV.com, then no. If you're watching the
Correct.
recorded version of it on your computer, then probably. But look, I'm not a TV ratings ace, so
But that's the thing where that even is skewed because they don't even count Rob at all. Because unless you're a Nielsen person who fills out the book or the computer thing they do now,
they just have a meter.
You don't
now
get counted. All they do is, unless you are a Nielsen family who actually tracks everything you watch and submit it to them, they don't really know how many people watch the show. They just have some magic formula they use that go, okay, well, based on the number of our Nielsen families that said they watched this is the rating of the show. So there's really no exact number to know. That's why people nowadays say Nielsen ratings are almost pointless, because there are just so many different avenues and ways of watching the show or watching any show. Like, it's a best guess at best on the ratings, because there are some things like, for instance, like pro wrestling. Okay. Pro wrestling, their ratings are not great right now, but it's still a highly desirable property because the majority of their audience are not Nielsen family members, and they can look at merchandise sales, they can look at other things and other metrics, and they look at YouTube views and go, well, there's a ton of people that are interested in this content, but the TV ratings don't exactly match the interest in the content.
Okay. What else do we want to talk about this thing? Anything?
I think I'm pretty much just ready to go for part 2 of this finale. Yeah, I'm curious to see how it ends.
I'm ready to see it play out.
Like we said, with these finales, there's not always a ton to talk about with these first parts. It's not like there's like much politicking going on or anything. So
okay, all right, we can wrap this up then. We've gone for
almost around an hour. We've been pretty good.
Yeah, so we're about to record our episode 3 recap for the Challenge All Stars airing on Paramount. So if you want to become a patron, you can listen to that. We also recorded a season 37 cast preview. We released, I think, the first 10 minutes or so. I think it ended up being 15 minutes on our public feed. If you want to listen to all that, you can listen to that on Patreon too for $4. If you want to send us a listener email, you can send that to thechallengechronicles@gmail.com. Do we have anything else we want to plug?
No, I think we're good to go.
Okay. We're good.
Thank you again to everyone from Patreon. And we'll talk to you again next week when we discuss the final episode 19 for Double Agents.